Hello, and welcome back to the Thought Cloud podcast. Our goal with this conversation is to uncover a hidden gem that can inspire others along their academic journey. Our guest today is Gabe Cohen. Gabe got his bachelor's of mechanical engineering at the University of Utah before going on to get his master's in mechanical engineering again at the University of Utah. Gabe is the co-founder of the University of Utah Rocket Team, and he has a breadth of experience to share with us. Gabe, we're excited to dig into your story, what got you so involved in this field, what you've done with the Utah Rocket Team, and everything going forward. So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Sam. I'm happy to be here. Let's get into it.
Heck yeah. Well, first question, start from the beginning. University of Utah, how did you decide to make your way over there to study?
So it's kind of a long story, but the abbreviated version is I was skiing professionally through high school and into college. So going to school where I was competing and housed was appropriate. So the University of Utah seemed like a good option. Um, and then when I retired from skiing, it was kind of it was always there. I was actually enrolled in a different program at the University of Utah while I was skiing. And then again, when I retired, I kind of switched gears and really hit the books hard and just switched majors and continued at the University of Utah. So it was more of a geographical selection than anything else.
Gotcha. When you say skiing professionally, what does that mean for those that don't understand the sport? Like what events are you doing? Is there a team that you're on, etc.?
Sure. Yeah, essentially, I was a freestyle mogul skier. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's essentially you ski down a pitch with a bunch of bumps or moguls, and there are two jumps in the middle of this bump field, and you do tricks off of each jump, so like backflips or spins or corks or whatever sort of inverted aerial tricks, and you try and get down the run as fast as possible, as clean as possible. And it's essentially like a match play event where you're just competing against yourself, but trying to outdo everyone else that you're competing with. So it's pretty
That's,
high risk, but it's a lot of fun.
I love that. I love that. So you decided to hang it up. What was the reason for that?
There's a lot of different reasons, but I think the main one was it's really hard on your body. Um, and I wanted to be able to walk when I was older, so I kind of wanted to step away and turn my focus and interest into something that's a little less tough on your body and more mentally challenging. So
Gotcha. Gotcha. So then we bring in mechanical engineering, and you weren't in this program before or when you started at the University of Utah, but you changed once you stopped skiing. Is that correct?
that's right. I initially was a film student. Actually, I really always loved script writing and then a bit of cinematography. So when I was traveling around, I was always bringing my camera everywhere and filming stuff and taking photos, making edits, and I still have that's a passion for me. I still enjoy doing that, but it's something that I don't think I could do every single day for the rest of my life. Um, and so I switched into mechanical engineering, um, and that was the reason for that is we'll get into this, but I'm obsessed with spacecraft, space travel, being getting humans into space, all things space. So mechanical engineering was the closest thing to aerospace engineering they have at the University of Utah. So that's pretty much the basis on why I selected that.
Gotcha. And why, curious, how come that wasn't the major or the decision before? Why did it come after you had already started?
Well, when I was in high school, I was obviously traveling a lot for skiing and I wasn't doing great in school. That being aside, I wasn't a good student. I really just didn't, I was struggling. I was never really a good student, whether I tried or didn't. And that's kind of the reason why I had teachers telling me don't go into anything STEM related. If you get into college, you should probably just do something that's simple and easy. And just kind of how I was brought up, and working hard all those years through sports and whatnot has kind of always told me to prove people wrong.
Hmm.
So that was kind of the jump into that field, I guess.
Just to prove them wrong, just to say that, hey, this is something I like and I'm going to do it.
Yep, exactly.
I love that. I love that. So mechanical engineering, it's the closest thing to aerospace engineering at the University of Utah. You touched on this a little before the call, but that sort of atmosphere, that ecosystem of space is something that definitely you noticed needed to be built out. So you went ahead and you founded the University of Utah Rocket Club. How did this whole thing culminate? How did you decide I'm going to do this? I'm going to take the initiative here.
Yeah, it's definitely so. There's kind of some history behind this. The rocket team was founded initially in like early 2000s and lasted for about a year and then fizzled out. And then again, it tried to get re-kicked off in like 2016 with not a lot of luck. And I just said, you know what? I'm gonna do this. Even if it's me just spending time every week doing stuff that I enjoy related to space and rockets and launch vehicles, I'm gonna do it, and maybe somebody else will be interested. And so um, I essentially just started putting up flyers, hosting meetings, and surprisingly, people showed up, and it wasn't a lot at first, but the people that came were very similar to me and what they're interested in. And not only was it awesome to have other people working on this stuff with me, but I made some great friends through that group, and I'm still in contact with pretty much everyone that I um, ever got involved in the club.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And this was in your undergraduate time, correct?
That's right. Yep.
And this club is now a graduate and undergraduate club?
Yeah. So we leave it open to whoever's involved. You don't even really have to go to the school to get involved. Obviously, there's some logistics behind that, but we just really want to get anyone involved in space or aerospace in general who's got an interest and passion in it. And we want them to be able to come to a place where they can kind of ask questions and share their knowledge, share their interests, and just have a good time and learn.
Definitely. Definitely, definitely. So in terms of its start, early 2000s, then again mid 2000s, you saw it try to spring up and then fizzle out. And now you've gotten it to a point where you guys have been up for how many years?
Continually, this is our I think this is our fifth year now.
Wow. Wow, wow,
Um,
wow. So what did you notice in terms of why it fizzled out initially to what it's become today?
Now, I can't speak to the initial tries just because I wasn't there. I do think right now we have a huge push for commercialization of space. And I mean, you see companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, um, Astra, all these new smaller launch vehicle companies that are kind of pushing the limits of the standards of a single launch vehicle company, which IE was NASA and during the Apollo program. I think it's becoming a lot more popular, a lot more interesting. Small sats have made a huge difference with just people being able to build their own satellites and launch them into space. I think it's a lot more reachable from a civilian standpoint now than it was from having to be involved with a government funded corporation.
Gotcha. Gotcha, gotcha. So that excitement around the space is something that's bringing more people, maybe is what it sounds like. And with respect to the opportunities you provide, you say it's just anybody who wants to learn about space, anybody who wants to get involved, ask questions, etc. What do you think this organization really does for students in terms of, providing clarity on their academic path? And maybe you can speak to that from your own personal experience.
Yeah, I mean, another one reason I wanted to get this group started was when I went up through college, I'm a first gen student, so I don't have any background from my family on exactly how this works going to college and getting into industry. And I didn't really have a great support system while I was doing my undergrad getting into industry. So I wanted to kind of build a group that where I could come back and teach other kids, not necessarily teach, but talk to other kids about my experiences and how they can optimize their journey through college into industry and beyond. So it's kind of yeah, it's just I want it to be a group where people can learn things both technically and just about how to best make their college experience worth it.
Definitely. Definitely, definitely. I love that. That's very admirable. And, setting this up is no easy feat. So what would you say some of the bigger challenges have been throughout these years, for you and the club, just in order to find direction, cultivate engagement, etc.?
Yeah, cultivating engagement has been the big challenge for me, and it's hard. It's hard to go out if you're not an overly confident person. It's difficult to go out and basically just say, "Hey, I've got this group, come join it," and then people come and you're the only one in the room. So it's definitely um, that was a challenge for me. And then from there, it just becomes a networking exercise with regards to with regards to growth of the team. So once we got a couple people who are really interested, it became a lot easier. So it's really just for those of you wanting to start something, whether it's a business, a group, or whatever. Just don't be afraid to get out there and cold call people. Networking is a
I
huge
love that.
benefactor.
I love that. I love that. So let's switch gears a little bit. Um, Grad school. Did you know that you always wanted to go to grad school? Was that something that was in the picture always, or how did that come to fruition?
Yeah, I never thought I'd be here, to be honest. And kind of going back to high school, I had, yeah, my teachers were telling me, don't go into STEM. You'll be lucky if you get into college, et cetera, et cetera. So um, getting through undergrad in one of the harder, in my opinion, one of the harder fields of study was a feat in itself. And just being able to go back and further my knowledge in that same field is kind of I'm still trying to fathom that it's actually happening. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Why did you decide to go mechanical engineering again? What was the purpose for that?
Again, at the University of Utah, it's the closest thing to aerospace engineering that I could find. And for those of you who've studied that, I'm sure you know that aerospace and mechanical engineering overlap significantly. So no real loss there. And then I currently work in the aerospace industry, and I've noticed there's a lot of missing pieces that I didn't get while I was in undergrad, and that's not to fault the program at all. That's just there's only so much time and so many courses they can jam in your undergrad, and there's a lot that goes on beyond the surface of your undergraduate studies. So I'm kind of here to focus in what I want to do for the rest of my career, learn some additional skills that I didn't get in my undergrad, possibly better my knowledge of some of those underlying concepts that I already learned. That's pretty much why I'm here, I think.
Definitely, definitely. And so you're in industry now while you're a student, correct?
That's right.
And what are you doing? And after this degree is over, are you continuing on that path? Are you switching gears, or what does that look like?
Right. So right now I work at a company called Northrop Grumman. They're a pretty big aerospace company. And I work in the research and development group where I design, develop, and analyze and test protection systems for launch vehicles, spacecraft, airplanes, kind of any sort of object that flies. Um, and I really like what I'm doing right now, and I'm learning a lot. I'm building a great network. It's kind of my dream job out of university, I would say. Um, the only thing I would change right now is I eventually want to move out of Utah and head out to California, I think. And the other thing is, if I could do what I'm doing right now fully on space exploration programs or commercial space programs, that would be, I could die happy if that was the situation.
I love that. Well, could you break that down a little bit more too about what you do with respect to protection on flight vehicles? What does that mean?
Sure. So whenever you're flying through the air, there's a number of factors that you have to account for. So if you're in, and it depends what you're building. So for airplanes, lightning strikes are a huge issue. So I do a lot of the design work on developing lightning mitigation systems. For rockets and spacecraft, I do a lot of the thermal protection system design. So how to prevent your capsules from burning up on reentry, or how to prevent aerothermal heating during launch. And then in space applications such as radiation mitigation. That's a huge field that needs to be addressed once we start putting more people into space. So I do a lot of work in the X-ray environment and preventing radiation mitigation or radiation propagation through materials into spacecraft.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Very neat. Very neat, very neat. Well, this is awesome. This is very cool. What would you suggest to anyone who is looking to get started in this field and maybe isn't clear about their capabilities or not sure about the direction they want to head?
Yeah, I think there's two big things. One is read. The more you read, whether it's online or in books, the more you'll have an idea of what's out there, because there is a ton of stuff that is not covered in your university courses. That is an entire field of study in itself. And then the other thing I would say is go out and talk to people. That to me has been the biggest thing for me. I would go to space conferences that I didn't know anyone at, just so I could meet people and pick their brain on where they worked. Um, and that's another reason why I started the club again, is networking is huge, and I can't commend that enough to my success thus far.
I love it. I love it. Great advice. Well, this is awesome. Super glad we got to hear about your path and what's led you to where you are, where you hope to go ultimately. And we're going to close this out now with a little rapid fire round. So I'll just ask and we'll get going. The first question is, what is the most stressful part of being a student day in and day out?
Work, student, life balance for sure.
Hmm. Definitely. All right. Next question. What is the most meaningful way for students to help each other?
Network and be there for each other, like I just said. That's the key.
I love that. What is your biggest hope to accomplish during your time on Earth?
I'd like to better the progress of the commercialization of space, and getting us back to the moon and eventually someday Mars.
I love that. Heck yeah, let's go. All right. Last question, and doesn't have to be related to mechanical engineering or aerospace, but what is your top piece of advice for those who are early in their educational journey?
Um, don't let what don't let what people are saying dictate what you think your abilities are. Um, just keep trucking. If you find something you enjoy that you want to study, do it. Don't let anyone tell you no.
I love that. Awesome. Well, Gabe, where can people follow you, follow the work you're doing, and keep up with all that you've got going on?
Yeah, so my Instagram and the Aerospace Rocket Team Club Instagrams, I'm assuming are going to get put in the show notes. Um, and if you're interested in what I'm doing at work, you can go to northropgrumman.com or just Google them. And a lot of the stuff I'm doing is pretty prevalent on that site. So um, yeah,
I love
I'll
it.
also my LinkedIn. You can follow me on LinkedIn too. I always forget that one.
Go give him a follow. He'll be tagged in the posts. And Gabe, it's been awesome, awesome, awesome having you on. Thank you so much for sharing your story and helping others see what they can do out there.
Yeah, thanks a bunch. Happy to be here.